Welcome back to Views with Hughes, agenda-free news. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, now that we're a few weeks removed from the Acolyte series finale, we need to take a serious look at what happened here with this whole Leslye Headland, the Acolyte mess. You know, the Acolyte wasn't just a disappointment, it was a disaster of epic proportions, arguably the biggest failure in Star Wars history. And we all saw it coming, from the moment Disney announced it at the Star Wars celebration. Disney announced, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland. Fans were skeptical. Why? Because Disney has repeatedly shown that they don't understand the core of what makes Star Wars special. Instead of honoring George Lucas's original vision, they've been pushing a woke, divisive agenda using Disney Star Wars The Acolyte that's alienated the very fans who made Star Wars a global phenomenon. All right, but let's just go back to the beginning for a moment before jumping into, the Leslye Headland, The Acolyte situation. Now, when Disney first bought Lucasfilm, there was hope. We thought they'd build on the incredible legacy that George Lucas created, but instead they gave us a string of, mediocre films and shows that missed the mark. The Acolyte is just the latest in a long line of disappointments, okay? And Disney tried to promote The Acolyte as the next big thing, hyping it up as if it was going to bring Star Wars back to its glory days. But deep down, we knew better. We knew that Disney Star Wars The Acolyte, run by Leslye Headland, someone more concerned with pushing her own woke ideology than telling a good story, was doomed from the very start. All right, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Now, Disney's marketing machine went into overdrive for this whole Leslye Headland The Acolyte mess, and they flooded social media with ads, rolled out all the interviews, and even got some of the media shows for The Acolyte season 2 to write glowing reviews before The Acolyte even aired. Now, they wanted us to believe that Disney Star Wars The Acolyte was, going to be a smash hit. But what's the truth? The truth came out as soon as they had released the actual viewing numbers, and it was all a lie. Disney wanted us to think that millions of people were tuning in, that The Acolyte by Leslye Headland was some kind of massive, cultural event. But when the real numbers came out, it became real clear that The Acolyte was nothing more than a catastrophic flop. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk numbers. By the way, I've reported on the numbers before for Disney Star Wars The Acolyte, and after the first 2 weeks, The Acolyte vanished from the Nielsen streaming charts, and poof, gone, disappeared. And this was unprecedented for Disney Star Wars show on Disney Plus. And we're talking about a franchise like Star Wars that's for decades been one of the most beloved in the world, and yet The Acolyte couldn't even keep its head above water for more than 2 weeks. Now that tells you everything that you need to know, okay, that you really need to know about how badly Disney has mismanaged the Star Wars franchise, all right? But let's keep it clear. It gets worse for Leslye Headland. Instead of acknowledging the reality, Leslye Headland went on a desperate campaign to try and save face. You see, Leslye Headland started doing an interview after interview, pleading with fans, those few dozen diehard fans who were still clinging to hope, to speak up and demand that Disney Star Wars The Acolyte season 2 would be put into effect. And Leslye Headland wanted us to believe that there was huge support for The Acolyte, but let's be honest, there wasn't. The only people who wanted more of this disaster were those who are more interested in virtue signaling than in actually enjoying good storytelling. And that was Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland. Now, to all of us, this shouldn't be much of a surprise, but we all knew this from the giddy up. Now, why was Leslye Headland so desperate? Because Leslye Headland knew, and everyone at Lucasfilm knew, that The Acolyte was a disaster from day one. Now, after weeks of not appearing on the Nielsen charts, it finally made one last sad appearance during the Acolyte finale. Okay, now you'd think that the finale of a Star Wars show would be a big event, right? The one that draws everyone in. Well, Turns out only 335 million minutes were watched. And people, this is a huge embarrassment for Disney Star Wars, thanks to Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland. Now, let's put that into perspective. See, Miss Marvel, a Marvel show, what's said to be another woke disaster from Disney, was widely considered one of the, biggest flops Marvel Studios under Kevin Feige even produced or ever produced. And yet, even its finale had more viewers than The Acolyte by Leslye Headland. Now, think about that. The Acolyte, a show by Leslye Headland that was supposed to, as they said, revive Star Wars, couldn't even outperform Marvel's worst disaster. Now, this is the point where any reasonable person will cut their losses and move on. But not Leslye Headland. Leslye Headland actually decided to go ahead and double down, trying to convince people that The Acolyte was somehow a success. And she's trying to convince that with the normies, not the Star Wars fans. But this desperation from Leslye Headland and her team wasn't just about, saving face. It was about Leslye Headland trying to keep the narrative alive, the woke narrative itself. And Leslye Headland and her team knew that The Acolyte was a failure. But you know what? They didn't want to admit it. Why? Because Leslye Headland admitting that The Acolyte was a flop would mean admitting that the entire strategy that Disney and Lucasfilm pursued with Star Wars for the last decade was a failure. Okay, it would mean admitting that the fans were right all along, that the direction of Disney took with this beloved franchise is actually the wrong one. Okay, so this brings us to a bigger point. This Leslye Headland, The Acolyte mess isn't just another Disney Star Wars fail. It's a symptom of a much larger problem, thanks to Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland. Now, Disney has completely lost touch with what made Star Wars great in the first place. Now, Disney alienated the core audience. That's no surprise, where the people who grew up with the original Star Wars trilogy and who passed their love of the series down to the kids. And these are the fans who wanted more stories in the vein of the original film, stories that captured the magic, the adventure, and the hope that Star Wars was all about. But instead, Disney gave us the woke Acolyte show, the show that was more concerned with checking off diversity boxes and pushing a woke agenda than in actually telling a good and compelling story. And this also showed what made Leslye Headland woke. All right. Now, Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte, isn't just about one bad show, people. Now, this is actually about a cultural shift, a shift where entertainment companies like Disney are more focused on social engineering than on good storytelling. And the fans, the fans have been paying the price for a long time now, and we've seen it with Star Wars and even Marvel. And we've seen it with, Marvel Studios under Kevin Feige, and who's rumored to be changing things around. And we're going to keep seeing it until these companies start listening to their audiences again. Well, Kevin Feige seems to be listening to audiences again. What about Kathleen Kennedy? So what happens next? Will there be a Disney Star Wars The Acolyte season 2? Now, honestly, who knows? I'd say it's actually 50-50. On one hand, any sane company will go ahead and just simply cut their losses and move on. Financially, renewing this disaster would make zero sense. But then again, this is Lucasfilm we're talking about, a division of Disney that hasn't made, a good financial decision in years. Okay. If they, think it's worth pushing their agenda, then they might just greenlight Disney Star Wars The Acolyte season 2. But let's face it, let's be real, folks. They don't care about, what the fans want. They don't care about making good content. They only care about pushing their woke agenda, okay? Even if it costs them everything, okay? But that's no surprise to us. So let me know, what do you guys think? Is this the end of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte season 2? Or season 1, I mean? Should Disney just cut their losses, or are they so blinded by the agenda that they'll keep throwing money at this dumpster fire? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoy what you said in this video, and share this video far and wide across social media. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, and share this video to your friends so that way more people can see this truth about what's really happening with Star Wars. All right. So, like I said, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have on this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, and share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.